Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. If you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in Major League Baseball, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Tuesday, Major League Baseball. First up, we've got the Detroit Tigers taking on the Baltimore Orioles. We've got Sawyer Gipson-Long and Kate Povich as the projected starters. You know, Gipson-Long made a season debut at the Major League level in the start on June 4th against the White Sox, and he struggled in that game. Even though the Tigers won that one 5-4, he gave up 3 runs in 3 2/3. And I think the Orioles, while, we've mentioned a few times, it's been a disaster start to the season for Baltimore. I still think this is going to be a competitive lineup against right-handed pitching in particular in 2025. We know they struggled against lefties, but in the last month, still above league average in OPS and ISO against right-handed pitching. I think Kate Povich has made some improvements to his game. Now, he's been better on the road this season, not so great at Camden Yards, but I still think he could put together a good enough start in this game. I like the fact that he's earning some strikeouts, missing those bats. He's limiting the home run balls, giving up just 1 home run his last 3 games combined. And I think he's going to be good enough in this game for the Orioles to grab the win. So give me the O's in this one on the money line at Camden Yards. Next up, we've got the Cleveland Guardians hosting the Cincinnati Reds. We've got Andrew Abbott and Slade Cecconi as the starters. You know, Andrew Abbott doesn't have the best career numbers against the current Guardians lineup, but Cleveland has been dreadful against lefties in the last month. They're dead last in baseball in the last 30 days against left-handed pitching and team OPS. And Abbott's pitched well overall in 2025. Now, he struggled in his last game against the Brewers, giving up 5 runs and 2 home runs, but that was at Great American. Now you're on the road where we know that, Great American's a very hitter-friendly ballpark. He's pitching on the road here where he's 2-0 with a 2.05 ERA, 31 strikeouts in those 22 road innings and just 2 home runs given up. And against the Guardians team, it's just not been hitting lefties at all. I think Abbott can put together a strong outing. I also think that Cecconi and the Guardians bullpen can do enough in this game to keep this game under the total. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Give me the under in Reds Guardians. Next up, we got the Miami Marlins taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Sandy Alcantara and Mitch Keller are the projected starters. Sandy Alcantara, we've talked about, he's most likely going to be traded at the deadline this year. And even with an ERA just below 8, there's going to be some value for Sandy at the deadline. The Marlins are going to be able to pick up because he's a veteran, former Cy Young pitcher that, yes, is off to a bad start to 2025. But like I mentioned, his opening day start, I watched that game. It looked like his stuff was vintage Sandy Alcantara. I mean, he looked really sharp and then just couldn't finish that outing. And then since then was not able to, he just has some blow-up innings that really derail his starts. And you look at his last game, though, maybe a step in the right direction. 6 innings, 2 runs against the Rockies in a quality start. Now, that's against the Rockies, the worst lineup in baseball, but here you are at PNC Park against a Pirates team. It's been playing, competitive baseball, but still not a great offense. I think Sandy can put together another quality start in this game. We're getting such a good price with the Marlins in this one because of Sandy's struggles. Mitch Keller has not been pitching well at PNC Park this season. In fact, you look at, obviously he's been a losing pitcher overall with a 1-8 record, but he's 0-5 with a 4.76 ERA at PNC in particular. I'm going to roll with the Marlins in this one at a great price on the money line. Next up, we got the Chicago Cubs and the Philadelphia Phillies. We got Colin Ray and Mick Abel as the starters. 2 good starts for Abel in his first 2 games at the Major League level this year. 11 1/3 innings, 11 strikeouts. The thing is, though, he had 9 Ks in his first start against the Pirates, just 2 against the Blue Jays in his next start. Now, Toronto does a great job at limiting strikeouts as a team to begin with, but I still think that, this is a tough Cubs lineup. I mean, in terms of overall this season and in the last month, the Cubs have been great against right-handed pitching. So I do think that Abel could struggle a bit in this game. Not necessarily a blow-up start, but something where, Chicago can get on the board early, and you got Colin Ray on the other side, who's been sharp on the road this season. He faced these Phillies back, early in the season at Wrigley Field. Great outing there. He had 7 strikeouts, not really known for missing a lot of bats, but he was in the zone in that game. He's coming off a bounce-back start where, before he was struggling against Cincinnati, gave up 12 runs in 2 starts. But his last game against the Nationals, a tough lineup, believe it or not, 5 1/3 innings, a shutout ball in a 7-1 Cubs win. We're getting a really good price with Chicago. We know the Phillies have just not been playing good baseball overall. Give me Chicago in this one on the money line. Next up, we got the Tampa Bay Rays and the Boston Red Sox. We got Ryan Pepiot and Lucas Giolito as the starters. Lucas Giolito, we've talked about it. We talked about it last week. He has struggled at Fenway Park. He gave up 7 runs his last game against the Angels in an inning and 2/3, a home run to go with it. Now, the Red Sox ended up backing him up, and they won that game 11-9. They've won 4 of his last 5 games, but giving up 7 runs in less than 2 innings, obviously not going to work going forward. Giolito's got an ERA above 10 so far at Fenway, and I think he could struggle in this game as well. Pepio's been great on the road this season. Now, this is a hitter-friendly ballpark, but not something that Pepio's not used to because he's pitched at Steinbrenner all season, and he's still been able to put together a 3.2 ERA in his first 76 innings on the season. I would like to see some more strikeouts, but his last game he did have 8 Ks and 6 innings of work against the Rangers in a 4-3 Rays win. I think the Rays are the play in this one. I know we don't expect this Rays team to be a slugger type of offense that's going to be able to take advantage of a pitcher like Giolito, but even if Tampa Bay can score 4 or 5 runs in this game, I think it'll be enough for the W. Next up, we got the Washington Nationals taking on the New York Mets. We got Mackenzie Gore and Griffin Canning as the starters. Now, a comment I saw last week was, Ron, you take the Nationals every single game, and we don't want to bet these losing teams, losing record teams. And I understand that on paper, you look at a record like the Nationals and you say, why would I want to bet on a team like that up against one of the best records in the National League in the New York Mets? But the fact of the matter is, even with a losing record at 30-35 going into this game, if you have bet the Nationals every single game from the beginning of the season, opening day, a flat, straight bet, $100, we'll say, on the Nationals money line every game, you are up. In fact, you're up over $500 this season. If you bet the Yankees, you're up $75. Not too bad, but still, for a team with a record like the Yankees, you'd expect to see more. If you bet the Dodgers every game in the same situation, you've lost $200. Even with the Dodgers' great record, because of the price, because of the value that you're not getting with LA in those spots as huge favorites, you've lost money on the Dodgers. So baseball moneyline betting is all about the price, all about value. You have to find the value in these certain spots, and I think this is a great one for the Nationals. You got the Mets coming off a Coors Field series. Yes, they had the day off on Monday, but Griffin Canning has just not been the sharpest with his control as of late. He did pitch well, though, in his last game against the Dodgers, a bounce-back start, but before that we saw 8 walks given up, and in the previous 2 outings to Chicago and L.A., giving up 6 runs in just 5 2/3 innings. You got Mackenzie Gore, who's been pitching really well as of late. I got to go with the Nationals here at a great price on the money line on the road. Next up, we got the Atlanta Braves taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. We got Grant Holmes and Quinn Priester as the starters. I mentioned with a pretty steep expected ERA that Quinn Priester should regress as the season goes along. He's not pitched the best at American Family Field this year with an ERA above 5. I know the Braves have been really tough to watch and tough to back as of late, but I think this is going to be a good spot for him to pick up a W. I still think Holmes is one of the better options in this Braves rotation. I'm going to side with Atlanta in this game on the money line. I think their bats do just enough against Priester to grab the win. Next up, we've got the New York Yankees taking on the Kansas City Royals. Max Fried and Noah Cameron are the starters. Now, I know the Yankees have been a little bit inconsistent, and Fried, we saw him struggle against the Dodgers, but he bounced back in a big way against Cleveland last start. 6 innings, a shutout ball with 7 strikeouts. He's still been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. 81 innings, a 1.78 ERA, and a .94 WHIP with 77 strikeouts to go with it. Cameron, you got to give credit to Cameron. His first five games at the major league level, 31 2/3 innings with a sub-1 ERA at .85, .79 WHIP to go with it. But 10 to 19 walk to strikeout ratio is a little bit concerning. Only 19 strikeouts in 31 innings. Yeah, I'd like to see him miss some more bats going forward. I know he limits sharp contact, but this is a tough Yankees lineup to face as a lefty this season. And in the last 30 days, they're top 5 in team OPS and solid isolated power numbers against southpaws with a high walk rate and a low strikeout rate to go with it. So I think this is going to be the toughest matchup of the season for Cameron, and up against Max Fried, I think it's too lopsided for me to side with the underdog as much as it may be tempting to take this kind of price. I'm going to roll with the Yankees in this one and lay the 1.5 runs on the run line on the road. Next up, we got the Minnesota Twins hosting the Texas Rangers. We got Tyler Mahle for Texas, no official starter right now for the Twins. Now, Tyler Mahle's pitched great in 2025, but as of late, it's been a little bit inconsistent, and we saw another not-so-great outing from him in his last game, and that's a concern for me now on the road, facing their former team, but against a Twins team, it's just got such great pitching. I know there's no official starter right now, but even if this is more of a bullpen game for the Twins, I think this is the best bullpen in baseball. I think against the Rangers offense, it's just not been great on the road this season. This looks to be a pretty beneficial series for the Twins overall. As long as their offense can do a little bit of damage against Mahle and this Rangers bullpen, I think we see Minnesota walk away with the win. So I guess I'd lean towards the under as well. But give me the Twins on the money line at Target Field. Next up, we got the Blue Jays and the Cardinals. We got Chris Bassett and we got Miles Mikolas as the projected starters. Bassett made some changes to his, really, he's done this a few times in his career. He's kind of been fickle to where he stands on the mound. He's been standing on the third base side of the mound. He made the change in the last game against the Phillies to stand on the first base side of the mound. And that could be tricky, for a starter that's kind of reliant on the sinker ball. That could, if you're not locating that ball well and you're standing on that first base side of the mound, it's just going to be very, less forgiving, I would say. And he was still able to pitch really well. 7 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts. He was struggling the previous 2 starts. I think that's why he made the changes. He gave up 10 runs combined to the A's and the Rays. He made those changes. He got the run support, and the Blue Jays won that game 9-1. They've won 4 of his last 5 starts. And while he's not been great on the road this season, I still think he could put together a good start in this game. And I think the Blue Jays, they've shown in the last 30 days against right-handed pitching, great OPS, isolated power, a very, very low strikeout rate, and a high walk rate to go with it. So, just right for right-handed starting pitching, the Blue Jays are not an easy matchup for you right now. So I'm going to roll Toronto in this game on the money line on the road. Next up, we got the Chicago White Sox taking on the Houston Astros. We got Shane Smith and Lance McCullers Jr. as the starters. Shane Smith has kind of just been flying under the radar this season. 2.45 ERA, 62 in the third inning, 60 strikeouts. He's been one of the better pitchers in the American League, but because he pitches for the White Sox, not a lot of conversations around him. But he's definitely had an all-star quality season. I think he's certainly the big front runner to be the White Sox all-star representative. This season. I think he puts together a solid outing. He's been solid on the road, sub-3 ERA as well, away from guaranteed rate field. And I think this is going to be a competitive, probably low-scoring game in this one. I'm going to take the White Sox plus the 1.5 runs. McCullers is obviously on a big, run right now. He's had 4 straight great outings and had 7 strikeouts in 6 innings against the Pirates his last game. The Astros have won his last 4 starts, but the White Sox have done a pretty good job of limiting strikeouts in the last 30 days against righties, and they have a high walk rate to go with it. They may be able to, find some success against McCullers early in this start, and he has struggled mostly at Daikin Park with an ERA above 10. So give me the White Sox here plus the 1.5 runs. Sprinkle on the money line as well, and also I think the under is worth a look. Next up, we got the Rockies and the Giants. We got Kyle Harrison and Carson Palmquist as the projected starters, pair of lefties in this one. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game than what we're used to seeing at Coors Field. And I think Palmquist may not be perfect, but against the Giants team that offensively has just not been great in the last 30 days. You look at their numbers against left-handed pitching, a .576 team OPS, a .095 isolated power, 25% strikeout rate. The Rockies obviously not much better. Their OPS is just 6 points higher. So both teams struggling against lefties. You look at Kyle Harrison. Last year he pitched at Coors Field twice. He had 12 innings of shutout baseball in those 2 starts. So we rarely see that from a young starter, especially. And I think there's going to be a low scoring, at least to the first half of this game. But we also got a great Giants bullpen. The Rockies bullpen hasn't really been a problem this year. Give me the under in Rockies Giants. Next up, we got the Athletics and the Angels. We got Mitch Spence and Jose Soriano as the starters. Spence a 4.09 ERA. The expected ERA is above 4.5, but he's been solid. I think as long as he's okay in this game, he doesn't get crushed early on, I think the Athletics are going to back him up because Soriano has struggled at Angel Stadium. He's not in the best form right now. He was not great in his last start against the Red Sox, where he gave up 7 runs in 3 2/3, ended up blowing a huge lead for the Angels in that game. And the A's have good numbers against Soriano in the previous matchups. The current Athletics lineup, very, very good numbers in terms of the xWOBA against Soriano. So I'm going to roll with the Athletics in this game on the money line. 2 offenses that have been inconsistent, but I think that the Athletics can compete. 2 bullpens that have been some of the worst in baseball, but I think the A's will do enough to hold on to the W. Next up, the Dodgers and the Padres in the National League West. We got no official starter right now for the Dodgers, but Dylan Cease is the starter for San Diego. Definitely my least favorite game on the board for the Tuesday card. Obviously the lack of information plays a big part, and once we learn the Dodgers starting pitcher, I think things could change there. But right now, I just don't really love the matchup either way for Cease against the Dodgers or the Dodgers against Cease, because while Cease has struggled in 2025, and I don't love the current form, and an ERA just below 5, he does have solid numbers against this current Dodgers lineup with a high strikeout rate to go with it. And we know the Dodgers have been so inconsistent. And you look now, they're only 12 games above 500, and a lot of people expected this team to win 105, 110 or more games with just how loaded this roster was going into the year and the World Series champions that were so dominant in 2024. But they've just been a good team, not necessarily an elite team, and for that reason, I just can't get there with the Dodgers too often right now. So I'm going to lean towards LA because I still think they'll be able to get to Cease for a few runs. I don't love that bullpen, so I'm going to lean towards the Dodgers in the first 5 innings, but it's not my favorite game on the board. And the final game we're to talk about for the Tuesday card in Major League Baseball, it's the Seattle Mariners and the Arizona Diamondbacks. We got Bryan Woo and Brandon Pfaadt as the projected starters. Bryan Woo definitely not in the best form right now, and we've seen the Mariners lose his last 3 games. And it's definitely the case for Brandon Pfaadt as well on the other side for the Diamondbacks, where he was not able to get out of the first inning in the start against the Nationals, and then still wasn't much better against the Braves in that next game. I think we see some runs. I think both offenses show up in this game at Chase Field. I think that, when it comes down to if this is a close game late, while I've mentioned I think the Mariners bullpen does have some regression concerns, I think it is the slightly better bullpen in this matchup, but I also think the Diamondbacks have the much better lineup in this matchup. So for that reason, I think the over may be your best play in Diamondbacks Mariners. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium, and there is a link in the description. As always, Romanelli, good luck.